this microphone thing so that it's not so horrible. There we go. Okay, I'm back. Um, oh, yeah, we'll try it that way and see how that goes today. All right, there we go. So, okay, good, good, good. I guess let's see how this. That's all the way. That can go up a little bit more. Okay, so audio looks good. Maybe a touch loud. There we go. Okay. So I'm back again. Um, Pin the tab. I got yelled at for pinning tabs this week. I felt some kind of way about that. Um, I'm gonna do it anyway because I'm not that sophisticated at Rider yet. And the tests pin tab. So let's delete all these. So I'm back this week, and I was working on the sample for the BDD talk. Eventually getting back to the puppy stuff that I was working on Dart, but been wanting to play with some more C sharp stuff. And what I'm looking at today comes from a talk I did on C sharp nullability. As a result of that talk on C sharp nullability, I realized that I could write a source generator to do a part of what I recommended in the talk, and kind of make it easier to show people what I'm talking about when it comes to having a code sample. When I say how to use the pattern, so it's actually not even a pattern. It's really just a default, right? So the concept of it is that we basically, when we create a nullable reference type, we'd prefer to have a default, but the keyword is usually just null. So the goals here today, I've already got it set up, and I'm going to go through a little bit of the setup and how I've got everything set up, but I want to, well, not today, but for this source generator, uh, generate an attribute to put on our class. Uh, Allow consumer to override the name of the property generated. I think that's what we're going to get through. I think that's already done. So the concept is this. When it comes to C sharp nullability, right? If you have a reference type, um, and you set it or check for default, you're really checking for null. And the recommendation I've been giving is like, okay, I get it. We can't, like, the feature gives us better control over null because now null is in our face. But what we don't want to do is force ourselves to constantly do null checks. And I only say that from the perspective of um, an unhandled null is more dangerous than a check for a default value, which is why default is like good syntactic sugar. But the problem is that it doesn't actually provide a default for a reference type, it just returns null. So this whole thing is going to be about generating a class such that I can do public class thing. And I think for now I'm just going to do a reference default. And what I will want this to look like after this is done, this will be a partial. It'll have to be a partial. Um, no, that's right. And then let's just get rid of this. Okay, remove redundant body. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do another thing, right? And in this thing, what we want it to do is construct a public static thing default set equal to some new thing, right? That's basically what we want. And I think that's the starting point of where we're going to start today. Um, so just to give you some understanding, this is a library that I keep for all of my stuff called Airframe. And what I'm adding is something that Matthias Carlson uh, recommended to me, told me to look at Verify. So Matthias and David Driscoll both started using Verify. So David set up some tests, basically like a test generator for my for source generators because my brain wasn't able to understand all of the nuances. Oh goodness, yeah, my key bindings are still broken. They worked for like 2 days and then they broke again. Um, so what this framework effectively does is just gives you a generator test context builder and allows you to put a whole bunch of stuff on there. It takes care of adding the references for you and all that, and then it allows you to very easily plug into Verify because it returns something that I guess it returns something that Verify understands. Um, Only reason why I say that is because currently I seem to be unable to use any of my proper IntelliSense to get anywhere and do any types of navigations. Like you can't see this, but I'm using go-to declarations or usings, and it's not going anywhere. So if I hit the control button and I click, it doesn't work either, or the command button. Sorry. Um, so it basically allows me to set up a test with verifier to create snapshot testing of what the output of the source generator is, which is extremely helpful and valuable because now if I need to go look at what is generated, this is the actual output of the test, and this gets recorded along with what was verified as part of as an artifact of the test. So now I know that my test is working correctly. So this is a really handy little bit. Um, so all that to say, kind of made it easier for me to wrap my head around source generators because like there's no output, and if there's no output, then how do I verify that what I output is correct? Verify, which I think is a library by Simon Crop, um, and it's pretty snazzy. So what this will allow me to do, or what the hope is that I will add this. You know what? I actually think I'm gonna change the the name of this altogether in a minute. I'll do that in a minute. But so this reference default means that instead of having null, I will have this thing generated for me, which is somewhat like anticlimactic, right? Because like this is just a little object with nothing in it. But imagine you've got 20, 30 properties on like a DTO, right? This will allow you to generate that DTO and a default for it without having to write any of the code yourself. So really starting to dig into source generators more because it allows me to, instead of having to write and it's funny because instead of having to write code and reuse that code everywhere, I can write the code that writes the code and reuse the thing that writes the code everywhere. And it's kind of like a software engineering version of shifting left, I guess, to some degree. Because now once I write this source generator, I don't have to go and write this source in every single. I just grab the source generator. This generator solves this problem for me everywhere that I have it. Um, so it feels like shifting left. Oh, what does this say? Oh, qualified. This is missing. We're not gonna. I'm not getting into that today. That is a rabbit hole I will not win. Okay, so file may only contain a single type. Yeah, I know that. I'm not worried about that right now. Just using this as an example of what I want. So I actually am gonna do that. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna call it thing, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna bring in reference default. So now I have pulled in everything. All right, let me see. Get status. I added the thing. Oh, I added some tests too. We'll see if those tests pass in a minute. All right, so I got my thing. I got my thing default. This is what I want it to look like. Yeah. Okay. What is this? Let's see. Partial elements should be documented. Yeah, I get that. Oh, yeah, it's all partial, so it doesn't matter. It's not going to yell at me about that. So, okay. I've got a thing. I've got a thing that works on a class. Ooh, that's actually a good question. Can I get this to work on a record as well? Um, Yeah, for now, we'll just put it there and we'll make it pretty later. All right, so that way we know the thing, public static thing default thing. This is what we want it to look like. So this is what our output code is gonna look like. If we copy that and we come down here to our test and we drop the snapshots and we say the default generator tests, I think I'm actually going to yeah, I'm gonna do that like right now. Add class default. You know what? No, we're not. We're not going to over optimize too soon. The tests usually aren't that bad. And if I write the test cases effectively, I can eliminate and alleviate that problem. So we'll do it the same way I've been doing it and see if I still like it when I'm done. Let's get a fact out here. Let's take. I guess we're already at the point where I need it. Add class. Um, Not expected. Simple reference type data. My brain. Go. How do I have this set up? Oh, yeah, I'm really just that special, aren't I? Yep, I know what I did. Okay. This might not be the best way to do it, but this is how I'm gonna try it today. So let's give it in here public const string correct equals. I'm gonna paste that in, and then I'm actually gonna convert this to a raw string because I learned a new trick. Lang C sharp, or is it equals? It's lang equals C sharp. There we go. All right, so now this should be internal because I don't need it outside. Access modifier should be declared. Okay, so then I need theory data. Yes, I am copying and pasting code I have that comes from a very similar project that I actually am going to use some of this code for that as well, because the concept of generating a reference type with default values, and being able to look at an object graph and build out an object graph like that is something that I need for another source generator, in order to be able to do uh, testing data. Not necessarily wanting to skip something like a bogus, but more trying to find a way to bridge the two things. Um, so yeah, so that's always fun. This thing, what do I do here, and why am I doing it this way? Oh, I know what I did. I can do it this way. Fine, that's fine. That's fine. All that doesn't matter. All right, so add another class, and we'll call that defaults. Yeah, I know. I'm so good at this. Paste that in. Generator context builder. That's going to be defaults generator. Defaults. And I don't need this. At least not now. Alright, so return that to an expression. That's the default builder. This is a internal abstract class, because reasons. This will now inherit from that. Okay. So now all this has to do, I think, in my brain, yep, there we go. All this has to do is add a default builder, right? I don't want to, and I just need to add source. Add source. Correct. So I actually don't even think this is how this is supposed to work, because yeah, I don't think I'm actually going to use this correct. Add source. Source should be, oh, that's right, my IntelliSense isn't working, so I don't know how to write code this way with my, like, I can't dig into the code and it drives me nuts. All right, so this is a generator context builder, because that means like I can't decompile source, which is also, well, yeah, I probably can, but I have to figure out how to do it manually, which I don't think I even know how to do. All right, eek, 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 eek. Default. Right, so the default builder, I don't need a reference of iLogger. Yep, don't need that, don't need that. Default builder, alright, so, okay, so that should just give me the defaults attribute.g.cs. It's fair, make sure that that's the, oh, no, we don't want to ignore, oh, maybe we do. Let's figure this out. So from there, this would become a theory, and I can then use the member data tag, member data, name of simple reference type data, and then member type equals type of simple reference type data. Oh, this needs to be dot data. That's than allowed for the parameters of the test method. Okay, that means this just needs a generator context. Right. Now, I should just be able to do result equals await context dot generate async. Yep. You know what? I should probably go back and make my default fact. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Go back and make my default fact an async bit. All right, so I have my generator test, and then I can do an await verifier dot verify the result based upon the hash parameters and use the parameters of the context ID. There we go. All right. So this is just some fancy jazz that David cooked up so that you can have theory data come in, and the theory data will map to the correct snapshot, and the only time that the ID will change is when the underlying hash values change. So basically, when there's been an actual change to the test, then or well, I guess not even then, because I don't know, I don't remember how this ID is constructed, but I do know that it makes it so that I can have theories, member data all throughout here, and just pump these values out and get explicit verify output. So I'm going to run all these tests. Code should not have blank lines. Fix white space at the end of file, sure. No overload from method add source. That's what we were looking at. But it won't, like, I can't, like, yeah, my hover text isn't even telling me, like, what the method definition is. I'm getting legitimately no IntelliSense declaration. Okay, well, I guess this is going to be fun. Okay, here we go. Now I get it. Add source has a string. Okay, now it's telling me string source text. What does the other string need to be? Why do you need add, all right, I'll be that guy then, and I'll do it this way. Dot build. There we go. Oh, that's right. It's inside a thing. The element should be documented. This can be made private. That's actually not what we want to add. What we want to add is just this part, I think. And then verify will give us the expected output, which should look like this. So let's take that out, and we'll only provide partial thing, and we'll expect it to have a default, and we'll try that. So we're actually going to use this, and we're going to say default constructor, right? Because we're going to do this again, and we're going to say the property name constructor. So here we're going to use property name equals thing, and we're going to call this none here, and we're going to expect this one to generate none. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but feeling kind of good. Feeling kind of good about this. Because the simple case should be simple enough for us to be able to figure this part out today. The hard part is going to come later when I have like a complex object graph that I have to, build defaults for all over the place. But if I enforce this to be C# 11 or I think it's 11 or 12 or above or whatever I think it's 12 above. And I can use object collection initializers. That changes the game and actually makes this a lot easier. So I'm going to look into that later, and I'm going to say that this is going to be requirements C sharp language 12 or above collection initializers. All right, there we go. Those are the goals. All right, so going back here, I've now got my data set up. I've got a test set up. We were running the tests, so let's go run these tests. And this is just my given win then. Okay, perfect. So it should fail. Okay, it fails. That's good. So now, oh, you guys won't be able to see this. Oh, yeah, you will. How about that? Okay, so, oh, we need to exclude. Telling you I get better at this every week. All right, where are we going? How does this work? Yep. Okay. So generate a results test, verify. That's all right. So oh, it's gonna be in my source data. Yeah, I need to ignore that. Wait a minute. Oh, that means that's not the right file name that I'm outputting. I'm so good at this. Defaults. Now, yeah, okay, here we go. This is where everything starts to get weird. So let me check in what I have now. I guess it won't matter because what I have now isn't. Well, no, what I have now at least will build. There we go. All right, so that's good to go. So now we can dig into this, which is a little change that I'm going to end up making here. This is going to become defaults. So the name of the package is going to be defaults, meaning like it provides you defaults for your reference types. I don't want to make it any more complicated than that. One word things are easier for me. So the concept works. And I was doing defaults generator and I was calling this a default attribute. But in my opinion, this should actually be the defaults, like plural. And that way, you know when you get it, you're getting the defaults library. I guess that makes sense, right? From a not being bad perspective. So we'll change that there, which means all of my tests are going to change. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that means all my tests are going to blow up. So so hopefully I get a chance to show you how this verify bit works now. Um, so I changed my test. Yeah. My test didn't change and my output is maintained because my ID of my context is the same. So when I go look at this is right now. So now this is what it should look like. I think I got rid of I have snapshots. No? Oh, okay. I changed the name of the test. Okay, this is part of the problem. Now I see what's going on. I think part of it is the name of the test is involved in the ID, so I need to get rid of all of my snapshots and rerun them. So that's the part I haven't figured out is how to not have to do that on a maintenance type basis with verify. All right, there explode. Okay, exploding tests. So good. Um, so now when I compare, now it is defaults attribute It'll provide a default, defaults, defaults. Okay. All that seems correct. Ooh, this is actually spicier than I think I should be doing it. Hmm. I think I've noticed a problem with that, but that's gonna have to be a tomorrow problem. All right, so let's go look. So that test, these. Okay, so let's rerun these because that test should now pass. Nope. Oh, okay, we didn't get this part. Right, because we regenerated the test from scratch. So, okay, now that works. So now we should have compare, which, okay, it looks like nothing broke, which is fine. Close all but pinned, and let's compare received, okay. Okay, but it doesn't look like it actually generated anything. Question mark? Yeah, okay. Why is that? Oh, I know why, because there actually is no source being emitted at the moment. Okay. No, I don't want that. Go away. There actually is no source being emitted at the moment. Okay, so that's a good thing. So that's all stuff. That's snapshots. So we've got defaults, generator tests. So the context gets pushed in. The context doesn't have anything of relevance on it. Um, and the underlying default builder ignores that output file. So if you wanted to look that up, right, you have to do. Okay. All right. Okay, okay, okay. I see. All right. So now the expectation is that this will come in. Thing. Okay, so that gets me thing. So this should get me access to something, and then okay, this is where I can put a breakpoint on my source generator. So I'm implementing I incremental generators. I'm doing just incremental generators, and I've got all that set up. And my register default attribute is set up. So now what I need to do is register defaults generator. All right, so I think I'm at the point where I'm actually starting to get to work on my source generator itself. So let me go back over here and use my big brain. So, okay, yeah, okay, so that's how I need to do it. So this is going to do this. Okay, my brain is thinking about how it wants to do this. Because like I got code on the right and I've done it one way, but I don't know that I want to do it the same way again. So let's do void regist. Here we go. Start copying the pasta. Incremental initialization context. Incremental. Such verbosity. All right. Okay. Because typing is clearly working out for me today. pass in the context. On the context, I think we need to get a syntax provider. Yeah, so I'm going to do this. Context dot syntax provider dot for attribute with metadata name. It's going to be rocket dot surgery dot airframe dot defaults attribute. Yeah, that's how it goes. There's that. And then there's going to be the node syntax token, and the node is kind, syntax kind. Oh gosh. Syntax kind dot, nope. Kind dot syntax. That's not it. Did I really just syntax kind dot, oh, is it not brought in? Oh, there you go, that's why. Like, class declaration. Okay, so it has to be a class declaration. What else am I missing? Alright, syntax context. Just return the syntax context, right? And we're good to go. And then dot combine that with the context dot compilation provider, I think is how that works. And then from there, that, so let's go ahead and use discard parameters in the file, save. All right, so now I've got a syntax provider which will give me the ability to do context dot, what is it, register source output. I have to pass in the syntax provider and some method. And what is the method supposed to return? I don't think it has to return anything. I think it's just an action. Yes, it is. Haha. So can I put that as a local function, and we'll call that generate defaults. All right. I'm actually going to move this out a layer because this is like a hat and a hat, and I don't like that. There we go. Generate defaults, to generate defaults. Okay. All that is good. We'll call this now the, we'll call this the context, and we'll call this the compilation. All right. So now I should be able to start affecting, I don't know how far I'm going to get into this today because starting to generate rosin is going to be difficult. Well, it's not difficult. It's just my brain has to think about it and make sure that I'm thinking about it right. And now there's great tools. There's rosin quoter, which is fantastic, which is what I'm going to use. I think SharpLab.io is another one that I've seen recently people be using. So I've got tools to help me generate it, but I don't think I can do this type of generation with just a regular string. I don't really want to, at least, I think is where I am. I didn't feel, okay. Yeah, so I think I'm going to have to use some rosin quoter to generate some rosin here and figure this part out. Find, where is it? Okay, so, oh, I see. So here I can do see. It should. Yep. Indicate unused. Deconstruct into variable. Yeah, there we go. Let's just call this the context. Context in the compilation. Okay, so oh, can I not? So I can do it for. Oh, I see. There's two different contexts. Ha ha. All right, so then maybe that needs to be the way I do it. The tuple dot context. Oh, it's yelling because of that context. Oh, this is gonna get really, really weird. All right, fine. We'll call this the syntax context again, and it okay. That won't complain. So we got the production context and the syntax context. Is fine because we need that. We're gonna need to determine whether or not the class has the fixture on it. So if the class has the attribute. Man, my IntelliSense not working. Like my key binding's not working is driving me nuts. Makes everything more difficult. All right, so I have this, which is here. All right, and then I say, okay, so I kind of understand what it is that I think that I'm doing. I don't know how far I'm going to get on this, how much further I'm going to get on this, because this is going to start to get into me having to stop and think and ask a bunch of questions of myself. Uh, but we should be able to at least figure out this. We should be able to at least put a breakpoint here and see how far we've gotten, right? So, like, let's at least do that and see where we are now. Oh, I had to put a breakpoint there to verify that that was working. Okay, so yep, I know that that is getting added, but my other piece didn't hit. Ooh, spicy. Hold on. What just happened? Oh, is this saying that there's nothing? Hmm. All right, so that's what's going on here. Is I need to. And this is exactly why having the tests for the source generators is so valuable to me because debugging and stopping and looking and verifying that you've done it correctly. What is? Wait a minute. I'm being trolled. I am being trolled. I get a context. That context should have some source on it. All right. Result generator. Okay, so this context is going to show me silent logger test project. That's fine. I need to figure out how to change that name. Loaded. Okay, so sure, it's there. Okay, clearly my brain is not. Sources, sources, string. Oh, ooh, that's also another good point. I don't know if I can send it in this way, or if it has to be like the older way of doing the things with the stuff. Nope, it's not going to correct itself. Right, so this will also need to be like that. All right, so that gives me default constructor, and then I got to do the same thing here. Oh, there's no namespace. Derp. That's the other part of the problem. Okay. I just realized what it is that I'm doing. So let me come back to where I have my thing. I did this specifically so that I could. Oh, there's no namespace. That's the fun part. Okay, so copy. Let's cut that namespace. Rocket surgery airframe defaults using. Oh, that's weird. Why did I not notice that? Yep. Oh, because I pulled in the using for the, and I didn't. Ah, that's why. Because I depended on something smarter than me to do it for me, and I got bit. That's what happened. All right. So now, yeah, let me also change those, even though I prefer the new syntax. That's probably still more correct. Let's copy this now. Let's go back to the test. Let's paste that in. That looks more like correct now. This goes away still, though. And if I take this whole thing, copy it, paste it into there, let go. Get rid of that. Cut that. Get rid of that. Add that. All right. So now at least my class looks like a actual class. So that's a step in the right direction. And now, oh, womp womp. You know what? I'm just so good at this. We're just going to go do all the refactoring things to make me stop being bad at this. Oh, wait, no, because this is defaults attribute class. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. I just won't beat myself up about that. Yeah, okay, so now, based on that, and based on the way my generator is set up, it should have the defaults attribute and it should get picked up. So now if I stop this and debug this, oh, that's also not great. All right, fine. You're better than me. I get it. I get it. I get it, Resharper. I should take the incremental context here. I should use the incremental context there. That way I'm not taking the super set state. Mm-hmm. All right, yep. Hit that there. Yes, now we see the node. Okay, perfect. So now I'm actually getting access to the node of where my partial public. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so this is a great point to break at. So at this point, I will expect it to hit my next breakpoint, which is here, and I'll have my syntax, which has the target node, which is yeah, it's got all the information that I need on it now. So now I can go plug my stuff into Roslyn Quoter and get it to tell me how to generate this thing, and I can also dig through here and figure out how to explicitly dig into my subtree uh, and determine the name of the class that it's on, what the default property is, use the property name. I can do all that now because I've got it actually reading the source and finding a node that has a class declaration with the defaults attribute on it. So we are cooking with gasoline now. I actually wonder, can I do it that way? You know what? We're going to try it. Might as well. We're here. Might as well try. Does it work though? Does it work? Yes, I understand that the qualifier is redundant. I do not, in this instance, I want you to leave it. No. Disable with comment. Disable for local function. Yeah, we're doing source generation, and sometimes when I do source generation, having the fully qualified namespace and the globals and all that stuff is very useful. So we're just gonna do it, call it that. All right, so that way it'll print out the name of the default. So now if I debug this again, using directive, mm-hmm, debug. All right, so we don't need that anymore. We are getting a node. All right, perfect. So all of this is now working the way we expect it. So from here, I'm going to define a couple of more things in my README. And the next steps on this for me is going to be uh, just generating that default, and then generating a default from whatever the property name is, basically. So proving that I can put whatever property name on there that I want, and it'll work as expected. And from there, then I'll start adding more complex object graphs. So I don't know if I'll be at this next weekend because I think I got something to do on Saturday. But if I'm not, I might do it Sunday. Who knows? But that's probably where I'll pick up. Well, I'll be working on this until through next weekend. So next time you see it, it might be done, or it'll probably not be done. It'll probably be closer to. I'll probably have the simple case of the generating the default attribute figured out. But long and important point is like now I've got tests that are executing. Yeah, so this tells me that it at minimum compiles, which is great. So now I've got it verifying that it compiles. So I've got tests that prove that at least what I have up till now is not broken. And the stuff that I'm going to put in the future will have tests already there so that when I break it, not if, when, because the second that I add this, the test itself will fail because the source output that it's captured via verify will be different. So I'm going to break these tests, which perfect, right? That's what you're supposed to do, break the test. Um, and then that'll give me the opportunity to test out the construction of this portion of the thing. And then it'll just have thing.default. We'll be able to use thing.default and or thing.none or thing. I don't know, whatever you fancy. It doesn't matter to me. Everyone has an opinion, and everyone's opinion has some level of value. So I won't be the one to judge because I've done lots of good software good, and I've done lots of good software bad, and I've done lots of bad software bad and good and everything in between. So all about trying to find ways to not have to reinvent the wheel every time we need to solve a problem. Um, and that's where I think source generation shines. Like prior, like writing libraries, having to do reflection and all these other things is just like, oh, there's a lot of extras. But now these types of things are trivial, and I don't have to manually go and do this for every object. Um, Maybe for some of the more complex objects, I do still have to do this, right? Maybe I can't get this to work for everything, but if I can get this to work for 80% of the cases, I mean, it that's a lot of value. So I'm going to be working on this through tomorrow, but I'm going to go eat lunch now. I will see you guys next time. Thank you for looking in.